everybody. I am so excited because I have an amazing guest today. She's from Austin, Texas. Her name is Shannon, and she is an elite agent in the Tom Ferry ecosystem that, where all the best agents train. So I'm gonna bring her on, and we're gonna have a little talk because she's gonna show you guys how to turn likes into listings. Are you guys ready? Hi, Shannon. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for having me join. This is going to be fun.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure to have you. Can you see? I'm wearing Tom Ferry's shirt
Oh, funny.
because we were both just at the Elite, right? So
Yes.
when we were at the Elite, Tom always talks about. See, I love this shirt because it talks about
Charge the storm.
charge the storm, right? And so the idea is there's a guest speaker, and you were there, Rory Vaden, right? And I have his book right here. Have you read this book yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so I started reading it. It's a really, really good book. And the thing is, I recommend it for everyone who's looking for a good book to read. But he tells a story about like cows and bisons because he's from Colorado, and I guess they're both those types of animals are there. And when a storm comes in, right, what happens is the cow sees the storm, turns around and starts running away from it, right? And when they're running away from it, they spend way more time in the storm. And then as a result, it just makes their life harder. Whereas the bison turns towards the storm and enters the storm, right, with their horns. And so what happens is it creates an opportunity where they can get out of the storm quicker. And I love that analogy. And I think, you and, agents that are in the ecosystem understand this, because what happens is right now it's a tough market and we all need more business. We all need more listings. And that's why I'm so grateful to have you, on the show to help us out.
No, it sounds awesome. No, I love that analogy as well. And I always look at it as you can't control the market. You can't control whatever storm we're facing. So you just have to embrace it and figure out how to push through it for sure.
Yeah. So starting off, this is the number one question that I think everyone that is coming to the show is going to ask, right? It's like, how the hell do you turn likes into actual appointments with, it just, for me, it's mind blowing. Because I do a YouTube show and I do the Real Estate Lawyers Corner show. And, I get leads online, but not necessarily through Instagram or Facebook. So how did you stumble onto it, and what did you discover?
So I had started using Instagram like back in 2020. I think a lot of people got onto video at that time when everything shut down. It was like, well, we can't do open houses, can't door knock. What are we going to do to put your face out there? And so I started doing video, and I picked Instagram just because that was the platform I was most comfortable with. And just started putting content out there. Did not really have, much guidance, but just was like, okay, I need to start posting more often. And eventually I decided to hire someone because I realized I needed help. Like I was getting likes, but no one was, calling me or doing anything like that. And so I hired a local influencer who was an Instagram influencer in Austin, not a real estate agent, but just someone that was local that was offering to audit people's accounts. And she had a foodie channel that was like blown up real big, and I liked following her. And so I just thought I'm going to invest in it and see what she can tell me to kind of make, see what I'm doing wrong or what I can improve, because I really wanted an outsider's perspective of, if you found my account online, would you hire me to be your real estate agent? Just a local Austin homeowner.
Yeah, that's a great question.
So I paid her a good chunk of money. And the feedback that I got was, no, I would not hire you. And I'm like, okay, why? And it was like, well, you're coming across very boring, self-centered, which stung.
Oh,
I don't know your personality at all. And I don't know why I'd want to call you or talk to you.
Wow. How old was this influencer?
Young, like,
okay.
Yeah. And so, but I was like, okay. And it maybe didn't come across like as harsh as that, but I was just listening to it like, what? And I'm like, here you go. Here's your money. But when she explained it to me, I was like, what do you mean? Because I'm like, I'm not self-centered. I'm very kind. I have an outgoing personality.
Yeah.
But when she explained it to me, I was like, oh, I get it. Like I was posting stuff that was, just more like advertisements, like just sold, just listed, even my
Me, right?
exactly, which I didn't even think of it being that way. I was just, people were like, when you get your license, you need to show everyone you're in real estate. And I was just thinking, well, I'm newer, I hadn't been in the business all that long. And I'm just trying to show, like, yes, I know how to sell a house. Like, please trust me.
Yeah.
Um, but she gave me just some really good advice that I can kind of break down on how to attract the right kind of audience and speak directly to my ideal client, which I'd given no thought to. I didn't even know, I had never thought about who my client was or anything like that. Like, my whole outlook on social is I'm just putting my face out there, branding,
Correct.
and just making people aware that, hey, Shannon is in real estate now and she can sell houses. She's good. So call
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, I think that's most agents. I mean, that's definitely me. I'll be the first to admit. The thing is so let's break this down a little bit. So after you had the conversation with this young lady, and she told you she hurt your feelings, then so what were the first things you started to change, and when did you start noticing like that there is traction?
Yes. So the first big question just had to do with who is your ideal client? And because she said, well, she was looking at my bio and it was very vague. It was like serving the greater Austin area. And she's like, do you really cover all of Austin? I was like, well, sure. And we ended up kind of talking, and she lived way out on the east side. I live way out on the west side. So we were probably over an hour apart from each other. And she's like, would you want to drive over here, to sell my house? And she's like, in an ideal world, stop thinking of like, would you right now? Because at the time I was at a point where I'm like, sure, I'll take anything, which probably a
Yeah,
lot
of
of
course.
beginner agents, I'm like, I'll just take a sale. And
Yeah.
she's like, ideally, do you want to be traveling, way over, from one side of the town? I was like, no, I'd rather just stay like in my little pocket and not have to drive so much.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I
Sometimes
don't do
agents
that
get
at all.
desperate, right? And then we're like, we'll take anything, but that's not necessarily the right answer.
Yeah, and I found now in my career, I'm at a point now where I get to say no to business if it's not the right match. And I actually, it's kind of like a relief now where I can say, hey, I'd love to help you, but we don't cover this area, or I know a better agent out there that I can refer you to, instead of me spending hours of time chasing something, and it takes my time for maybe a better opportunity that would have served me better.
Yeah, I mean, I referred a client to you a while back,
Yes.
and you helped them buy a house, and they're very appreciative, and they loved you, and they spoke very highly of you.
Yeah.
And the thing is yeah, I mean, I don't know how far you went to sell them that house, right? I mean, was it quite a bit away from where you were?
It was at the time. So, like I said, they were great people, but now I'm kind of at a point where I even have another agent on my team that can kind of help with some of the ones that are a little farther out. But
Yeah,
it's just, you don't want to just be like chasing every single random lead you could get
so true.
online, and especially ones where it's not like your expertise. And so what we really focused in on is, who do I want to do business with?
Yeah.
It was a
So
hard.
who is that? Who's your ideal client then? Like,
Yeah.
describe that person to me.
So I struggled with this for a while because I was just like, she was like, buyers, sellers. I was like, both. And so I couldn't really pinpoint. And she says, who think of the best client you ever worked with? Like, if you could multiply this person over and over again, who would that be? And so there was a family that lived in my neighborhood at the time, and they had their third kid. They'd kind of outgrown their home. And so I helped them sell their home, which was in my little area, but they upsized into a bigger new construction home that was like a little bit more expensive sale. And so it was awesome because they were lovely people to work with. I didn't have to travel very far, and I got two deals out of it because I
Yeah.
helped them sell their home. And then it was like upsize. And then I love new construction homes. It's like a passion of mine. I've only lived in new construction homes. My mom, my third one. My father was a builder, so I kind of grew up around construction, and it's like a passion of mine. And so I started thinking about it. I was like, my ideal client would be someone that wants to live, or, upsize into a home that's out in the west part of Austin. So
Yeah.
in the areas of Lake Travis, Dripping Springs, they're in their mid 30s to mid 40s. They've moved out to the suburbs because of the school districts, and they have a growing family. So they're wanting to sell their smaller home and get that bigger, newer, home for their growing family.
So how did that work out when you decided, okay, that's my ideal client, now I'm going to focus on him? What did you do to pivot and change that?
Well, it makes
It
it
didn't happen overnight, right? I mean,
no, no, and it's a process. So I mean, the one thing you need to kind of understand with when you're doing videos is just like postcards. It's not like you do one video and all of a sudden you get tons of business. It's like geo farming where you pass out cards. People have to see you over and over. So it takes some work. But the biggest thing is now when I'm posting, I'm thinking of that person and what does this person need to hear? Because if you don't have a focus, what I was doing is I was looking at other people in the Tom Ferry ecosystem, like, Katie Day in Houston, Texas. I was like, okay, she puts out a lot of stuff. And so we're in Texas. So some of the topics apply. And so I'm like, well, I can talk about this or that. But some of the topics might have been aimed at first-time buyers. Well, if I'm not, so why would I be talking about like the escrow process or how to, save up for a down payment or down payment assistant programs if my ideal client already owns a home that's like 600, 700,000 and they're trying to get into that $900,000 home? Doesn't
That
make
makes so
sense.
much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because we as agents always are afraid that we're missing something. Oh my gosh, we're going to miss this client. We're going to miss this opportunity. So we're trying to scatter that net really wide. It's very interesting because even I mean, I've been in the industry for quite a while. Even I today still kind of scatter that net. And you're making me think, who is my ideal client?
Yeah. And it took a while. It was not an easy question. Like I had to go back and refine it a couple of times and we went through like a bunch of different exercises. But the biggest aha was just that if you're trying to like be everything to everyone, then you're nothing to, like, you're not really speaking to any individual person. So it's like, I'm just going to put it out there for everyone. I'm not attracting anyone in particular.
Yeah.
And so
go ahead.
Just the concept of like a niche, the more you can narrow your focus to a specific audience and a specific, target market, you're going to attract those very specific people.
Yeah.
And
so I'm going to play a couple of videos that you shared with us. And then I just kind of want to get your feedback and take on it. And what did you see?
But I had to tell you, you can still get a 5.5% interest rate.
Man, quit playing with me.
I'm not playing.
No, for real, don't play like that.
No, seriously, there's builders around town offering low fixed rates, 30 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How you know?
Because they gave me flyers.
Put that on everything.
I'll update all your searches.
Damn.
So we should check some out this weekend.
I'm gonna call you back.
Why? Hey, no, it says limited time. We gotta move.
I love these videos of yours. I mean, they're just so entertaining, so funny, but yet you're still kind of like, letting people know that you're a real estate. Like, where do you come up with these ideas?
So I follow a lot of non-real estate accounts. If I want to, if I'm trying to be more creative, one of the big tips I got was to not just only look at other realtors, because I do feel like when I start watching real estate content, I get kind of trapped in my own head. Like, oh, I should do that idea. Well, no, I'm going to look like a copycat, or no, they did it first or whatever. But if I can find someone else who made that video in a different industry, I'm like, oh, I could do that and just make it a real estate conversation. So
fantastic. And then do you have somebody who edits all of that content for you when you do it?
I actually edit a lot of my Instagram content myself. I taught myself back when I, like I said, didn't have a lot of money and didn't have desperate for clients. I had time. You either have time or money. And so I had time when I started, back then, and just learned how to edit. And so I mostly do edits on CapCut, some on Instagram. So if it's a short, simple video, I edit myself. Otherwise, if it's like a professional house tour or something, I have a videographer that shoots stuff like that. So
yeah. I want to play another one because this one also I watched and it was really good because it was like you shared the success of your client with the audience, and like showing that. And we do it all the time, but we never think about it.
It's going
good. So I have good news for you guys.
Okay.
So last week we met with this sweet couple who's moving from California to Dripping Springs to be closer to their daughter and grandchild. They actually found us on our YouTube channel after searching for new construction homes in Dripping Springs and decided to reach out for help. After a Zoom consultation and a few phone calls, we narrowed down their needs and found the best 3 communities that matched them. Then they flew into town for a full day of house hunting. At the end, they fell in love with a new construction home that backs to a greenbelt in Big Sky Ranch. And even though this home was at a great discount already, we decided to negotiate and offer a little bit less. And this is what happened. So the builder called back. They did not go as low down as the 480, but they came back with 485, 990.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it was already a really awesome deal because I mean they already knocked it down 25,000. Then they're paying your closing costs, so we gotten another 18,000, and to get the appliances and everything, I think is pretty amazing.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
Okay, this is
I love how you shared the story,
yes.
right? Because a lot of times agents are like, look at me, look at me. I just helped this client, but you don't hear the story behind it. And I think the story is what makes it interesting.
For sure. And so, one of the things that I changed a lot from when I was, posting originally, like I said, it was very self-centered, more like an all about me page. And now it's everything I'm posting is for a client, like my ideal client in mind, someone moving out to the suburbs, wanting to get a new construction home. And so once you have your client in mind, whoever it is, and just to help give people ideas, it could be you love working with VA buyers, you love first-time buyers, you love luxury buyers, waterfront properties. It could be a geographic area or whatever, but you're trying to, come up with content for that person. So 3 big questions you can answer are, what does that client want? Which could be showcasing home tours and things in that area, in that price point that you're trying to hit, and just to attract people like that. The second thing is like, what problems do they face? Which kind of goes back to that Usher video that we played earlier. It's like they want to upsize their home, but the rates are high. So showing them like, hey, look, you can upsize into a new construction home with a 5% rate. Like that's a big deal, and then the last one is just showing how I personally help solve those problems. And so by storytelling, it makes it, just an easier way of like putting the client story. I didn't say like, I just sold another house in Dripping Springs.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
would have been what I did in the past. But now it's like, there's this family. They want to be close to their grandkids. They were moving from California. They found this great deal on this home. It makes, when you storytell, it makes your audience kind of relate to that person because they could be watching and thinking the same thing, or they might be here in Austin and thinking, man, I wish I could move the parents over here to get them next to my kids. And I didn't even know we had a house in the 400s out there in Dripping.
Correct. Yeah. It's crazy. So let's go back to what you mentioned at the beginning of the show, which was, you said that you started with Instagram, but I see that, you're in YouTube now. And where are you getting most of your business online using these likes?
So I would say with Instagram, what I'm mostly getting are agent referrals and referrals from client and sphere. So I wouldn't even call them like leads necessarily. It's more like people are messaging me and going, hey, I have a friend coming to town. I know you'd be the right fit for them. You have the right personality match, or, they're just reaching out to me. So I don't get like
crazy. Like I didn't even think about real estate agents on Instagram watching you, following you, and then referring to you. Wow.
No, this past year, just I counted just from Instagram, we got over 20 agent referrals. And yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's a lot. So it's and I'm not really targeting agents necessarily. I do have a lot of agents that follow me, but it's just they are seeing how I work with people by doing more storytelling. And like I said, if it was just all just sold, whatever, they probably wouldn't reach out to me because they wouldn't be seeing my personality and how I interact with people, or like the types of homes I sell, the type of families I work with. So that's big. We didn't close all of those last year. A bunch we are working with the spring.
Yeah.
And then YouTube is something else I just figured out like in the last so many months. I kind of figured out what I was doing wrong there. And so those are more just direct people. Like, I watched your videos, I want to move into this neighborhood, and they're calling us directly from YouTube.
Yeah.
And I will say on my post, even though we're talking about listings, I am getting, I really post about getting your next home more on the home buying side, because I feel like home buying is fun. It's aspirational. It's like, look what you can get. But often they have a house to sell. And even if they're coming from out of state or whatever, we are getting some outbound referrals because they are still the ideal client. They just might be in California that needs to sell and they're wanting
Yeah.
to move here. So
Yeah.
they still, most of them come with a listing attached.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is now that I think about it, because as you were talking, I was thinking like, who was my best ideal client? And it absolutely is the move up buyers, the
Yeah.
ones that can actually afford, because they can like sell their house, get a big
Yes.
equity, and then they can use that equity to step up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love first time home buyers. I work with a lot of first time home buyers, but yeah, a lot of times it's difficult because they're struggling to make that payment
Yeah.
work, the budget work, and sometimes they're right on that knife's edge, and
Mhm.
you have a deal fall out because something pops up. And yeah, it's those are not the easiest deals to work, but it's rewarding because it helps those individuals get started and into the home. So that's kind of why I do it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Especially in California, like San Diego, our prices are just ridiculously high.
Yeah. Well, we are called Austin, California. So we're like the California in the middle of Texas. We got a lot of Californians moving here, and we are definitely the most expensive city in Texas, but still cheap by California standards. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a struggle for sure. And we will one of the things is one of the reasons I was kind of nervous about saying, well, I only going to work in the suburbs is that, well, would I lose out on a client? Like maybe there's someone that I would want to work with, but I really haven't had that happen. I still have agents that are like, hey, I have a first time buyer. But what's funny is they're like, we know you sell more expensive homes, but would you mind helping a friend that's, looking
Yeah.
in this price point? And so sometimes like, sure, absolutely. If I know we have the bandwidth or it's in the right area or whatever. But like I said, sometimes I'm now more like, I don't cover that part of town just because we don't have the bandwidth to go out there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're still reaching out to me and they associate me though with more expensive homes, which
Okay. So now we spent quite a bit of time telling everyone how amazing you are, right? So let's try to see how we can help these other agents. So like, if let's say I was an agent and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be Shannon when I grow up, right? So what is it they should do right today?
just you have to start wherever you're at. Don't look at like my videos and like, oh, how did she do these weird edits and stuff? Like my very first videos were so bad starting off. I mean, I did not know how to do editing, so it was just me kind of like talking selfie style. I invested in a ring light. That's probably the only thing I use. I have a ring light, and then I have some microphones now that are, although I'm charging them down here. I will say if you can just get decent lighting, and just audio. So if I'm going to do more of a talking video, I just have, these are Comica wireless lapel mics.
Uh-huh.
I think they were only like a couple $100, but that's like the only audio I use. And I like these because they just clip on you and you can be out and about or whatever. But if I'm out somewhere and I want to film something, it's like, okay, I've got that. And then I just have like a little tripod if I need something that's kind of in my car and I can just, pop something up if I'm in a house or something and want to talk. But
Yeah.
just, I would, like I said, focus on who your client is. And if you're like, I don't have any clients yet, who would you want to, be clients with? Start touring homes, like doing home tours of just like, here's what you can get in this area. Here's what 500,000 gets you. Here's what this, number, whatever number you're trying to attract or part of town, you can go out and show homes like that. I use new construction a lot. And that way I don't really have to get permission exactly. I'm just kind of going through showing empty houses. If you're in an area where there's no new construction, ask some agents, hey, could I showcase your home and just do a walkthrough video, get permission maybe from other agents in your office.
Yeah.
But just like start showing people what they can get. It makes it look like you're busy and you know your stuff. And then you will start having people, reach out to you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is so how would you recommend like for those agents who are like, I don't look good on camera. I'm camera shy, right? I can't do it because it's just, I don't like being in front of the camera. Like what is, like Tom tells us how important video is, right?
Right.
And like sometimes I think we don't necessarily hear it, but like what do you say to those individuals that are like, I don't look pretty enough?
You look the same in real life. It is what it is. It's a camera, whatever. I mean, you're going to see your clients in real life. You look how you are. You kind of have to get over yourself that way. I will also say if you don't love, I mean, some people are just like, I really freeze up. You can practice shooting videos, like just, you don't even have to post them. Just practice talking on camera, post them to your Instagram stories. They disappear in 24 hours. That way you don't have to be like, didn't, just try it out. See how people respond to your stories. I can talk about stories in a minute because that's where you get a lot of conversations.
Okay.
And then also you don't have to be with your face on every video. There's some people who are crushing it right now with home tours, and they're like faceless home tours, and they're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
and like touring. Here's what $1 million gets you in Boston or whatever. Sam RP
yeah.
is someone that you can definitely follow. But you could just record it and then just do a voiceover.
Yeah.
So there's so many different things you can do that are where you don't have to be on camera all the time, but you're still being consistent and putting out that content aimed, at that audience.
Yeah. And then do you do any like SEO tagging or anything like that in the
On
content?
Instagram, it's harder. I used to think hashtags were really big back, they don't do as much now. I still always tag my location. If you can collaborate with other agents or whatever, that also helps. Like if you shoot a reel with another person, that sometimes you can boost views that way. I also, if I have clients, I will tag my clients because they will share it. They love, if I did something about their home, whatever, tag them, they'll share it to their friends. I pick up friends and family that follow, because they see their friends in the video. So, there's things to kind of boost activity there. And then if you're starting off and you're like, well, I don't even have followers, just follow everyone, get them to follow you back, and just let clients know at listing appointments, at open houses, hey, are you on Instagram? We put out content about blah, blah, blah. And a lot of times I'll get people that follow me just because I'm showing them, what they can find on our accounts.
Yeah. How many transactions? I mean, we're in the business, right, of selling real estate. So some agents don't like this question, but how many houses did you sell this year?
Our year was a little slow. We only did about 30 or so, but then I have a bunch pending because we also have new construction. So some of the times we go under contract in September and then it rolls into the new
6 months
year.
later.
Yeah. So I'm starting off January with like a big amount.
Okay.
We're getting a bunch of stuff cranked out right now, but it was also just a slower year overall.
Yeah.
In Instagram, we did 11 transactions that came from that, which again we did not have a stellar year last year just because of being slower. And then, like I said, like a bunch of sales rolled over. On YouTube, we just kind of got started on YouTube. I closed 2 deals from YouTube, but I already have 2 more big ones under contract and a listing coming up. And then we have like a ton of active clients that we're picking up from YouTube, which is exciting because it took me years to figure out how to get YouTube correct.
So how do you, what is it that you're doing on YouTube that you're getting listings now?
So it's basically, I needed to kind of clean up my channel again. And I just was like, I'm going to lean heavily into that same avatar of my move up buyer. And so I had been using YouTube as just kind of, it was like too much stuff going on there. I had listing videos and I was running ads. I had a market update that I'd been running ads on. I had dabbled with it and did stuff that did not work at all. So I was trying to take educational, fun stuff, real estate topics, and put that in there. No one's searching for educational, like how to stage your house, how to, no one cares. They're not searching that. Then I tried doing like mayor of your town, like go out and interview the local pizza place. No one cares. They're not searching for it. And the people hated being on camera and that I was like disrupting their business. I thought they'd be all excited. They were just, oh God, all right, I guess. How long is it going to take? So I tried that. And then I would
It wasn't fun either.
No, and it was miserable. And I was like, I hate YouTube. And I was telling my coach, I'm like, I should have, I wanted to add another platform. And I was like, I picked the wrong platform. I should have just stayed with like, short form, TikTok, something else. And he's like, just stick with it. And like, you got to figure out what you love. And so I was like, okay, I love new construction neighborhoods and like, showing what you can get, the hill country views and everything. So I basically now post tours of the best like master plan communities out in my suburb areas. And then reviews of some of the local home builders. If I have personal experience working with them, I'll kind of share like client stories and stuff of what it was like working with this person. And then I'll do a market update, but it's aimed at that move up buyer. So it's like, here's what it's like to buy a home in Austin right now. And we'll talk a little bit about selling, but also what you can do if you need to, sell and buy.
Yeah.
And I took out all my listing stuff. I made a separate channel that's all listing videos. So nothing related to listings on my main page. And I don't run ads on it now. So it's just organic, best master plan communities, reviews of builders, market update, what's it like to buy for the move up buyer.
So tell me the difference between the listing channel and this main channel that you have. Like, why did you decide to separate the two, and what are you seeing from each of them?
They're two different audiences. So the people searching about moving and getting their next home in Austin, they're looking for the best neighborhoods, don't care that I listed a $500,000 whatever house over here. And then ad money also kills the organic growth of your channel. So if you're pumping ad money behind something, like your channel is not going to grow.
Yeah.
And so I still do ad money on my listings because the sellers are happy. It's like, hey, look, we got you 15,000 views and whatever. We do sometimes get inquiries that call in on those videos. And then also it is a way of branding myself because those ads for the listings do hit all my target area where I'm sending postcards and everything like that. So it is
So
branding, but
so smart.
But since I quit doing the ads and just took the listing stuff out, like I said, I'm very niche specific on new construction suburbs. Now I'm getting more calls, and the first time I got it, I was like, this is like a joke or a scam, because someone just called and they were like, hey, I want to buy a house and I'm in this neighborhood and whatever. And I was just like, how did you find me? I watched all your videos, and we were watching this one. I'm like, from YouTube. And she's like, yes. And I'm like, okay. And I literally had a conversation with her, chatted for a couple of minutes. And then I was like, okay, let's meet tomorrow. And we just signed a contract like the next day. It was like so weird. But what I love about YouTube is that the people who are there are very analytical. They've been researching, so they're more serious usually than the Instagram followers that might follow me for fun. Like, they found me. And by the time they're talking to me, they'll even ask, do you have room to work with me? Like, are you too busy? And I'm just like, no, of course, So, it's awesome because we've sold 2 that are like in neighborhoods that I love. They're higher end, like one's $1.5 million, one's like a 900,000, which is like good for Austin. And then the listing I'm getting is like 900. And then the other ones are like a 700,000, another one that's like a higher end one. And so it's been awesome. And I'm also not driving everywhere. They're all like within 15 minutes.
And the thing is there, I would say that they would be easier to work with because they reached out to you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they know your personality. We have a question from Scott Graff. He said, CapCut is simple editing. Is it simple to edit using CapCut?
It's easy enough. I used, CapCut is what I just started on. And, but if it's an easy video, I also will just use the Instagram app to edit. I mean, Instagram is not like the best. It doesn't have as many like bells and whistles, but I will use Instagram if it's a very short, simple reel. CapCut if I want to do a cool transition or, or something else. And I think CapCut is paid now. That's the only downside. It used to be like free, but I have the paid account. But that's what I use pretty much for everything.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like when I use CapCut, when I film, I try, like, sometimes we make mistakes when we're filming, right? And so I basically film the whole thing. I edit it in my phone, stitch it together, and then I post it. And then for me, it looks cleaner, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that agents who are thinking about doing it and they're nervous about, oh my gosh, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to screw up, right? You shouldn't worry about that. But if you do worry about that, you can still just record it on your phone and then edit it using CapCut.
Yeah.
So that's just a pro tip, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that story. You said that you wanted to tell us a little bit about the story and how you make it more interesting.
I might have mentioned Instagram stories like versus post.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking. So
Okay.
your feed, like Instagram Reels, is what gets shown to a broad range of audience. So if you're like, how can I get my account discovered? You need to be posting Reels. I still think it's helpful if you either need to have like a really good hook or something like to get people's attention. I still think using some of the funny trends or a trending sound and stuff can also help boost your account, but I don't become like obsessed with them. But if you want like more people to see your account and get discovered, definitely using Reels and also keywords. If you're like Austin, like the best local spots in Austin, or something new in Austin, that's going to get more seen by the people that want to see that kind of content.
Yeah.
Doing very shareable content. So sometimes it's just like, what does a million get you in Austin? That could be seen and shared by lots of people because they're like, oh my God, look how much that cost or whatever.
Yeah.
Versus like if it's more of the talking head educational, may not get shared as much, so that you kind of have to play and figure out what stuff does well on your account.
Yeah.
And that requires posting and experimenting and see what works.
Yeah.
But that's, for your feed, and you're, again, trying to get discovered on Instagram stories. Those are the ones that disappear in 24 hours. And those are shown just to your followers who are already following you. So I look at that as a way for people to get to know me better. I put a lot of personal stuff. It could be silly stuff like pictures of my dogs or cat or whatever. But this last year we built like a swimming pool in our backyard, and I documented all of that and put it like just behind the scenes. And I still today, people are like, how's your pool? Like, I haven't seen it lately. And it's just funny because they'll watch that, but it's a way of like showing what's happening in my personal life. And the way you engage and really start conversations on Instagram is in your stories. The best thing is that you can put stickers on there. And, even if it's something silly like my dog and a cat, just like, what do you have at home? What animals do you have? Dog, cat, whatever. People just click and they vote. And then
That's a really good point. Yeah, because I see that a lot. It's almost that engagement that gets people more interested.
yeah, for sure. And it shows you like you're a real human, and that you kind of have similar things going on with them. So just if something funny happens, like silly, whatever, I'll just post stuff in my stories. And that's where I literally get the most like conversations. Sometimes like something that's worked really well, again, kind of going along with storytelling, is just documenting the behind the scenes as we're out house hunting or going on a listing appointment or whatever. I might just, in my like in my car, I might just be like, I'm about to step into a listing appointment, blah, 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 blah. And not that I'm giving out details or whatever, but just like share something about that. And people will ask, questions or whatever. Or I can put a poll like, oh my God, look at this backyard. What do you think? And even though I'm and then I might drop some real estate thing like, what are your goals for 2025? Are you thinking of upsizing, doing some renovation projects, like happy where you're at? Whatever people vote, always reply back and just kind of start a conversation.
Yeah.
And then eventually they can turn into conversations offline. Like if they're all of a sudden having like an actual interest in real estate, then my goal is like get them off the DMs and actually try to have a phone call or consultation.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah. The thing is Scott Graft actually asked another question for you. So it's like, how many stories do you post per day? And I when he said stories, I don't necessarily think he means like the story versus the reel.
Yeah, like
How often do you post?
Ideally at least once a day. You can post, it depends on the day, and I should probably be more systematic about it. But I like today, I think my story just expires. I probably need to post something else to it. But I just kind of look at it like just every day if I document something about what am I doing. And as a tip, I heard that sometimes like if you post a bunch of stories, then they start going stale where like no one's watching them. So if you see like, okay, all of a sudden I was getting like 600 views on a story and now I'm getting like 10 or whatever, delete your stories, just like delete them, wait until the next day and post again, and they will like take off again.
Yeah. Well, YouTube has something like that similar, because I haven't done Instagram really. And now that I've learned so much from you, I'm going to start doing it and implementing what you're teaching. But YouTube, because I do YouTube, and a lot of times what they'll do is content creators will put a video on YouTube, and then like, typically you need time for YouTube to like learn who wants to watch your show, and then that way it can push it out and recommend it. And what happens is, because the content isn't viewed after like, 2 or 3 days, the content creator is like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I need to like put out more material. And what happens is they shove another video in, and it basically just eliminates all the energy that they would have gotten on the first video had they just kind of let it marinate.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think Scott asked also about how often do I post reels? In an ideal world, 3 times a week. I don't do them like every day just because I don't have the bandwidth for that. But I try to post like, one and then skip a day and another one, skip a day, and again, let the video have a little time to breathe, but stories you can definitely do daily. But if you see that your stories, like I said, if the views are like way down, it could be over posted or kind of oversaturated it, and just like delete them out or wait 24 hours and try posting some again. It's just, the stories is really more the way to be more social and interactive, and try to put the little polls, like the stickers. What do you think? Like even for new construction, like design trends, like I'll go in there, like, okay, there was one we saw the other day that had a bathtub within the shower. And it's like, love it, or like, no way, and so people were all voting on it different ways. And I was kind of responding back. But again, they're seeing that I'm showing that like these really expensive $1.5 million homes that have these crazy, showers with tubs and stuff. But it was a way of just like, something fun. And I'm not like touring someone's house without permission, but I might just show like, cool, like what do you think of this view? What do you think of that? But people are kind of watching as I'm going out looking at these homes with people.
That's very, very smart. So let me ask you, so what's the best, like what are big mistakes that you have made and you've learned from? And what would agents, should avoid?
For which platform, or like any particular platform?
The field is open for you to discuss. Like, what were some of the pitfalls that you learned and like, wish I didn't, now I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, like I said, for Instagram, mostly it was like not having a clear focus and just like, I'll talk about anything or I'll work with anyone, but just kind of leaning into your target little area and whatever, and focusing on that. Stop comparing yourself. That's the biggest thing. And I still struggle with it sometimes, because there's other accounts that are like, maybe they're some of the ones that just do home tours only, like those accounts blow up. And I'm like, oh my God, how do they have like 40,000 subscribers? And I only have like 10,000. It took me years to get there. But mine is definitely more relationship based. It's more like educational fun, and it's more like people getting to know me. So it's a different style than someone else.
And you're not trying to monetize your views through Instagram. No. That's not your goal. Your goal is to have people reach out to you. You don't need 50, 60,000 people for that.
No. And then I would say just that falling into the comparison trap. That's why I really love the advice of like going into your reels and just kind of exploring and seeing like what other creators out there, and ideally not real estate agents. I mean, maybe it's okay to see some, but just find some accounts where you're like, I love how they do this. I love how they do that. I find some that just have cool transitions that are like fashion accounts that I get the song idea or transition idea. And I'm like, just for something creative, and just save some of those accounts, like follow them. You can even make a favorites list on Instagram that you can then like go back, and I just want to see who's in my favorites to get fresh content ideas. But just don't get in that comparison and analysis paralysis mode is the main thing. And then, like I said, for YouTube, I think just the big thing was not realizing it's a search engine. It's not social media. So doing thinking I'll just do what I'm doing on Instagram, it didn't work. It needs to be searchable. And so everything needs to be very heavily keyword, like, whatever the heritage, best, new construction community in Dripping Springs, like, and that's the name of the place. It was just kind of a learning curve of what works. And then I think I went down a bad path of starting with ad money on YouTube and didn't realize that killed my my organic growth. So if you're doing ads, make sure you know why you're doing them and what they're for. But if you're wanting to have an account where people are finding you and discovering you, do not put ads on that account.
Yeah, because YouTube has different, like for those who are not familiar with YouTube, when you post your videos, YouTube actually has different things that it tells you, like so many views came from recommended, so many views came from browse, so many views came from search. And what happens is when you push money and ads into it, it throws that number off and it skews it. And then the other thing is, not only does it, is like you said, it's not as effective, but what it also does is it may make you feel like your channel is more successful organically than it is. And then you could be moving down the wrong path and you're not learning from it. So like I don't like paying for anything if I don't
Right.
have to. It's the Chinese in me.
I don't like paying for it either. So,
Yeah. So it really, really, really good tip. So now that you and I are best friends, after the show, you are an influencer in my eyes. Can you do an audit on my Instagram? I'm kidding.
sure.
I'll write you a check. It won't be as big as the one you wrote, though.
And I'll just insult you back and be like,
Yeah,
oh my
Scott, you suck.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So the other tip I will say on YouTube is something I kind of discovered recently is that my audience again is that move up buyer. And I realized I was like, after I cleaned up my channel, I went for months. I was like going to post one video a month. That's my cadence on YouTube. And I was like, okay, I'm doing the neighborhood tours. I'm doing the builder reviews. I'm doing my little buyer move up market update. I was still not getting business. And I could see like, okay, I got some engagement, some views, that kind of stuff. And I finally had like one video that really took off for me. And the video so far is the one that's gotten me like the bulk of my leads. I've made over 100,000 in GCI from like just this one video. Because again, they're like the higher end, like the $1.5 million buyer and the ones just around $1 million. But I analyzed it with my coach because I was like, oh my God, like I
Who's your coach?
Jeff Bannon.
Okay.
Yeah, he's great. He used to be a videographer and is like good at like analytics of stuff like that. And so I was just like, I have this video and it just took off. And like, I just got this client and I just bought a house with them the next day. Like they were so laser focused. They were just like, this is what we want. And we want to work with you. So he's like, show me this video. And what it was I was reviewing the builder that I bought with, because we just bought a new home ourselves like a year ago. And so I talked about like the good and the bad. So here's why we picked them. And here's some things that went wrong, like some weird stuff that happened, but like, we're still happy with them and stuff, but it was just like my honest review. And he goes, let's look at the view time. And so he goes, what did they watch? Because there was like a peak, a part where it's like, when did you have the most views? And it was when I was being very negative. Like they, messed up something on my patio, and then like my floors weren't clean. They still had paint stuff when we moved in. I kind of like ranted for like a few minutes on there. And then as soon as I got past that and I said, now, despite all that, I love my home, and everyone quit watching.
Yeah.
So they loved the negativity and it was not that I was like bashing the builder, because it was more like I was warning them about what they were doing. And so it kind of goes back to those questions where I said, once you know your client, you're trying to show them, what do they want, what are the problems they're going to face, and how am I solving it? And so I was doing the first question of like, look at all these beautiful neighborhoods, and I was doing it in the style of a listing video. Doesn't matter how bad the listing is. You're never going to say it's bad. It's like, it's charming, good bones. It's this, it's that. So I was doing these neighborhood tours that were all positive. 8 reasons to fall in love with this. And like all the reasons we love this builder. Well, basically why would they call me if they watched that? There's no reason for them to call me if most of them have already been to the builder model home. They looked at the builder website. Maybe they see my video and they're like, okay, cool. She says it's good too. I'm safe to go to the builder and just buy.
Yep.
But if I'm telling them like, okay, here's what you want. Look at all these beautiful homes. Here's the problems you're going to face. Here's my personal experience of like what I went through and what I would warn my clients about. Now they're like, oh my God, we should call her before we sign that contract.
Yeah. That is so, like, I think that is what I will call the pro tip of the day for me, because you think like, well, maybe is it people like just like negativity? And I don't think that's the case. Like I thought about that because I've had other channels I've seen and blows up because they're negative. But I think it's because it's human nature. We are afraid to be victims. We're afraid to be ripped off. We're afraid to be taken advantage of. And so when the negativity comes out, it's kind of like, oh, this person is warning me.
Yes.
Right. So this is something I need to pay attention to. And so I think that's really, I think, the crux of what you stumbled onto.
Yeah. And since then, like my goal is if I do a neighborhood tour, my goal is 2 neighborhood tours a month, a builder review and like my market update. And I'm trying to level it up and do a couple more, but any neighborhood review is going to be like, here's 5 reasons that our clients love this neighborhood, but here's 3 reasons why a lot of them don't want to live here. And then people can at least see like, okay, here's what it is. And then like the 3 not, and to be clear, I'm not like bashing the neighborhood. Like if there was a neighborhood or a builder I hated, I just wouldn't even make a video about it. I'm picking the ones I want to sell in, but like we're way out in the suburbs. So a negative for any of them would be commute times, 45 minutes to get downtown. If you work, or whatever. It could be we have higher tax rates generally when it's a newer home. It could be the lot sizes are kind of packed close together, So I can come up with some general things without being like mean where someone's going to sue me or threaten me to take the video down. Because I got asked that before. Well, aren't they mad at you? And I'm like, no one's mad at me. And I'm just saying like, hey, before you move here, just beware. Like the closest shopping center is like 20 minutes away. The closest
It's just facts.
That's all it is. Yeah. But people like that. And like I said beforehand, I was just thinking listing video. So like all the reasons you should love it, but there's no reason for them to call me is what I
That is
discovered.
so true, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, she just validated everything that I thought about this community. Great. I can go ahead and just go and buy it then.
Right.
Right? As opposed to like, hey, these are things, great community. These are things you need to be to consider.
Yes.
Then it's like, well, maybe I should hire Shannon to like walk me through those pitfalls so that I
Right.
don't fall into it.
Yes.
It's brilliant. It makes so much sense that, I mean, like for me, I also don't like negativity. I don't like doing negative videos. And for like areas that builders, I'm not going to name,
Yeah.
but that don't do a good job, I try not to bash them. Except
Yeah.
actually, I do have a video on my YouTube channel that I bashed one builder.
We'll just say
I
they
won't-
deserved it. It's all right.
So the thing is yeah, but I never considered that people want to watch and people want to reach out to you because people want their problem solved.
All right. It looks like we got a question. Has any builder called you out on a review? I guess they weren't happy like the one you bought. No, I've actually sold 3 of their homes because of that video. And so like I've actually had builders ask me if I'll do reviews of them too. So I'm not like, just like I said, I at the end, I'm like, I love the house I bought, so, but yeah, they didn't clean my floors and they did, screwed up something on my patio. That's just a fact. But I'm not like, they suck, don't use them. And like the people calling me, actually, I've got several that bought with that builder. So
that's amazing. That's
finding
amazing.
the right balance.
Yeah, correct. And it's, again, you're just giving information and you're giving them the facts. You're not doing anything more. So what kind of content gets the most engagements and interactions that in your opinion?
For me, so for Instagram, it's going to be the funnier trends, like the ones that are sillier, that have like a crazy hook or something like that, just because it's more entertaining. For the YouTube videos, it's definitely the ones where I'm doing more warnings. Like I've also will sometimes do an educational, like, don't buy a new construction home in Austin unless you watch these 10 warnings, something like that. And then people are like wanting to tune in. Also sometimes the ones they don't have a lot of views because they're so specific are the ones that actually get me business. And so
What
like,
does that mean? Can you like,
yeah, so like something else I started doing on YouTube is I call them like neighborhood mashups, and this has to do with just the cost. It costs me money if I have to get my videographer to go out and like shoot a video with me. I'm paying like $500-$600 per video on these neighborhood tours.
Yep.
So at some point I've got enough of them that I was like, let me just do a compare and contrast. So like, here's the 3 best neighborhoods in this area, or how does this neighborhood compare to this neighborhood?
Yep.
And so then I can shoot it in this office. I'm just like narrating like 2 popular, if you're going to move out here, here's 2 popular things. There's this neighborhood or there's this neighborhood. And I lived in one and I've sold in the other, and I'm going to tell you the differences.
yeah,
And then I have an editor that's cheap. That's like a VA overseas that can edit that. And I'm like, just pull B-roll from the neighborhood tours.
yeah,
And those, like, they're not going to take off because that's such a specific thing. It's not like moving to Austin, that's so broad. But if I'm like, this neighborhood versus this neighborhood, like the people who have found it are so far down the funnel. Like they already know they're moving to Austin. They already got the job. They've already researched the schools. They know that they want to be in Lake Travis. They've been looking online. They're like, the new construction ones or this or that. What should we pick? And then they find my video. And one of them was like, I can't believe this video exists. He's like, I've been trying to find something. And he's like, I can't believe like someone actually made this video, because they were so far down like the funnel. But that's how I'm able to get a lot of them under contract more quickly, is because it's not just like, should I move to Austin? It's more like, we're past that. We're already here. We just need to look at this versus that. So
Yeah, so
they don't
smart.
get thousands of views. They might only have a couple hundred, but the people that are watching it are like, oh my God, I searched for that.
Well, I mean, that just makes so much more sense, because it's, you want bottom of the funnel,
Yeah.
because I mean, at the end of the day, you and I don't do this for as a hobby, right? This is our career. This is how we make a living. This is how we put food on our table. So getting to the bottom of the funnel quicker, I mean, it's so smart.
Yeah.
So Scott actually asked another question. He said, do you post the same stories to Facebook and Instagram? So basically, there are sometimes people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't like use the same content in both platforms because they're kind of competing. What's your thought about that?
I have my Instagram set up so it does share to my personal Facebook, and the stories share. Reels don't really translate. Like I know if I do a carousel, like a photo post, that will go to Facebook. It's my personal page. And I will be honest, like I am not a Facebook user like at all. I am only in some realtor network groups. If I didn't have to be on those, I probably would not have a Facebook account. I just don't use it for any other thing. So but I do have like Instagram stories go to Facebook, and I will occasionally get neighbors and stuff that follow me there. We're connected and they do respond on Facebook. So yes, they do work. And I see no harm in putting them in the same place. So
have you guys gotten good response from the poll questions?
Yes, that's where I get most engagement. So I would say lean heavily into that. What like works with me. And again, you got to figure out what your style, what your, what kind of content you want to create and have fun with it. But like the ones that are most engaging, if I'm out with my husband, sometimes he's driving or whatever, and I can be on my phone more. And I'm just like, hey guys, we are house hunting. We got a client that's moving here from Arizona, blah, blah, blah. Follow along. And we're going to show you what they're looking at in this price range. And then I'll just put, like I said, fun votes, and people will just be following along. And then one time I even had, it was hilarious, but I posted, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, we found the house. They're going to write an offer. And I showed them, and I did a vote. I was like, which one do you think they're going to pick? And again, people are like, are you getting permission from the listing agent? No, I'm just like, I just took some little snapshots. It's a freaking poll. Like no one knows what the address is. They don't know anything about it. I'm not bashing the house, but I'm just like, do you want A, B, C? And I kind of came up with fun names.
Yeah.
People voted. I had like almost 70, 80 people voting on, do you think they went with A, B, or C? And then time went by because we actually like stopped. They had lunch. They thought about it, whatever. And so like a few hours went by. I actually had people texting on my phone. What did they pick? Like, what did they get? And I was like, what? And they're like, did they get the castle house? And I was like, because one had like a little turret on the top, and I was called it the castle. And
awesome.
I was like, that is hilarious. But they were really like watching an HGTV show. And so at the end, I was like, okay, they went with the new build. They all of them go with the new build.
Yeah.
And but then I posted like, why did they get the new build? And I showed like the cool fireplace and whatever. And I'm like, do you want to know what neighborhood this is? And like a bunch of people, yes, what neighborhood is this?
Wow.
So they don't necessarily turn into an exact lead right then, but it's like I probably had couple hundred just responses back and forth. Just it made my account active. People are engaged with, they're following. They want to know what we're doing. So that's where
when you blink an eye and you're over 10,000 subscribers.
It's been like I said, I am jealous of some accounts that blow up faster because they're kind of leaning into like one thing, like just the homes or just local stuff. But like I said, I get warm and hot leads that are like referral based, which I love. I don't like chasing cold leads. So I like the fact that it's a little more relationship based. And
you're so, I mean, like not kissing your ass, but it's so amazing because I am the agent that just chases cold leads, right? I door knock, I cold call, and it gets very, very tiring because these people just don't want to talk to you. And I never thought that, using a system like Instagram and things like that would turn to be such a useful tool. It's so cool. So Trisha asked, let's see, what did she say? She has a Facebook business and a personal. Do you recommend keeping the personal and the business together? And the same thing with Instagram.
So I honestly a business Facebook page to me is like worthless other than people will Google it and be like, oh yeah, they have a business Facebook page. I don't think you get a lot of engagement and interaction there. People are
Yeah.
more likely to chat with you on your Facebook personal account
Yes.
and interact there. And I think for Facebook, definitely blend a lot of personal mixed in with business. I have seen other agents, I'm not the expert on this. We probably need to find someone who could come on that have done very well with creating groups, like Facebook groups, like a VIP client group or something that's super interactive, or like something in their farm. I've never done that, but I would say you get more interaction with groups or probably your personal stuff, because just keeping it friendly.
Yeah.
On Instagram, you definitely need to blend personal in there, and it's just finding the right balance. Like I could probably do more personal stuff, but I keep it more like educational. But I will throw in, like, if my husband and I go on vacation, it's our anniversary or whatever, like I'll put some stuff in there. And most of it I do very heavy personal on the story side, just to keep it a little more lighthearted, but I have an Instagram personal page that I started off with, and I don't even know the last time I opened it or posted on it. Like all my friends that were there follow my business account. And like I said, I do put personal stuff. Like we just went to Elite Retreat and then we were out at Disney World, and I was posting that, in our stories. And all my friends, oh, how fun. Did you do this? Did you do that? And they're like asking about the rides and everything. So, blend it in. But
I only post on my personal stuff. I have a Facebook business, but I'm not active on there. And then I only have one personal Instagram page. I mean, it's called the Scott Chang Team, but that's just the name. It is my only account. So yeah. So, all right. So before we wrap up for the show, I want to ask you, for 2025.
Yes.
For agents who want to level up like you, what are we going to do to level up?
Be consistent, like actually block out a day on your calendar for filming. At Tom Ferry Elite Retreat, remember he did a thing. If you weren't there, he said he had someone count, say the alphabet A through Z, see how fast you can do it.
I love that.
Count 1 to 100 or whatever, and how fast can you do it? And he goes, now do A1, B2, C. And the person could barely do it. She's just like, I don't know. Yeah. So the more you can stop jumping from task to task is huge. So one of the things I've done is like clear my calendar out. So Monday is a pure prospecting day, and prospecting for me is more follow-up because everyone is more inbound. We don't do any outbound reach unless
I wish I had your business.
It's just fast. Like Monday is a nurture day. It's like I'm calling all my active sellers, my active, hot leads and whatever. And it's just a nurture day, love on our sphere. And then Tuesday is my film day. And I'm trying to get it like faster. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm doing it 8 to 5, but I alternate between, okay, I'm going to film like a couple weeks worth of Instagram stuff. Now I'm going to go out the next week and film a couple neighborhood tours, knock those out. Now I'm going to go film like some.
So that's all Tuesday.
Like the mornings for the most part. Like I said, the neighborhood tours can be an all day thing depending on how extensive it is. But Tuesday morning is just like, that's my film time. And it's sacred. I mean, I'm even to the point where it's like, can you help attend an inspection? Nope. I'm booked. You can do it at the afternoon, or you can FaceTime, and Tyler, my husband, will FaceTime with you. But it's my film time. I'm not doing anything else. And then we just have the other like couple of weeks open for listing appointments, like staging, photography day. So I'm just very like sacred with my calendar. I feel like if you're winging it, like, oh my God, I didn't make a reel today, then you're going to feel that pressure of like, oh, let me whip something out. Okay, it's not good. It's not doing well. So just definitely like block out time.
And then what's your Wednesday then?
Wednesday, I call it listing love day. Listing love day. So I'm showing love to my listing. So this is where I'm like, I'm doing listing videos that's separate from the other. I'm like coming up with some of the marketing stuff about the listings, like, you know, posting reels, like some of the other stuff that is all listing related. I'm going on listing appointments, ideally, like all the afternoon. So that's it. I'm just focused heavily on like getting new listings, setting new listings, staging or photographing or videoing new listings as much as possible on
Okay.
Wednesdays. And Thursday is ideally my day off. My husband and I try to at least take off like every other
Oh,
Thursday and just like
that's-
take a day off together, because usually the weekends we're working. And then, like I said, Friday, it's usually like more client appointments, kind of a catch up day. Usually Saturday, we're working with people in the afternoon. And then Sunday, we really try to not work Sunday, and just have like another off day for personal family and stick to that. So that's been my main thing, is just making sure you have time. I would also say set realistic goals. Like if you're like, I've never made a video, make it a goal to do one video a week. Get really comfortable with that. And then you're like, okay, all right, post little stuff to your stories. That's super easy. Doesn't require a lot of bandwidth. Now,
Yeah.
all right, I've got it down. Okay, let me do 2 videos a week. But if you're like, I'm going to do a video a day for the whole rest of the year and whatever, like you're going to fail really hard.
Miserably fail.
And then you're going to quit. So
Yeah.
set realistic goals. If you're
Yeah.
not doing anything, pick one channel that you want to start with and love on that channel, and not do like LinkedIn, YouTube, this, that. You're going to spread yourself too thin.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what do you, I'm like, I assume you don't do open houses. You don't do,
I will do open houses if they are in my area in the right price point, like first weekend only. Otherwise, I try to get other agents in my office. We are a very small team. It's just my husband and I. We just got a new agent.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get other people to work the open houses. I mostly work listings. My husband works buyers. If it's a married couple, I may show up the first day just to build rapport, but then he can kind of take it from there. And then we have another agent that's helping us with the lower, like anything under 500,000, or that's too far of a drive. She takes all of that.
Yeah. And then, you don't cold call, you don't door knock, you don't do any of that other stuff, right? You don't have to.
We've tried in the past. Like my husband was like, I'll do the expireds and whatever. And it just didn't work well. And I'm not trying to say like some people crush it. And I'm like, my God, like they do way better than me. And they're like crushing it with expireds and cold calling. And it just never was like the right match for me.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out what, again, works for you and lean into it. There's so many ways to make money in real estate. So it's like, you got to find what you enjoy. And I enjoy video and being on social. So
yeah, like for me, it's sometimes like, and I'm positive all the other agents out there, you guys are probably feeling the same way I do, which is, I went door knocking, I did cold calling, I did expireds, I did this because I'm like, oh my gosh, it works for this person, so I'm going to do it because it's going to work. And then you do it for a month, and then you're just tapped out, you're exhausted, you're tired because you tried all these things, and then you're like, see, nothing works, right? But I think it's just like you. It's like, why are you forcing yourself to do something that you're not passionate about, that you don't like?
Right.
Because you're just going to tire yourself and quit. So if you don't like it, find something that you do like to do, guys, and you're going to be better at it.
For sure.
Would you agree?
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Like I said, the cold calling for me, I hate telemarketing with a passion. Like I wish it was like illegal. Like, but since I have a public,
it's becoming illegal.
I know, but it drives me nuts how I have a blocker now that blocks all the spam calls, and it's literally like cut my phone calls down by like probably 75%. So now even when I get a call, I'm like, who is this? And I'm like, oh, okay, it must be a real person. But I just like, I can't stand it. And so I felt that way. I was like, I don't like this at all. We even tried hiring like an ISA, like someone from the Philippines or whatever, to cold call on our behalf. And we got some appointments, whatever. I think we got like a few sales, but it wasn't worth the energy and the time that we were putting into it. And
Preach,
so
sister.
it just didn't work for us. But again, like there are other people that crush it, and I'm like, my God, and they're like brilliant at it. And I'm like, that's amazing for them. And they would probably hate to be on social media doing the other stuff. So it's like I said, you got to figure out what works. And
right, so before we I'm gonna do a little plug here. All right.
Okay.
What's the word? Shameless plug. So if you guys have anybody who's looking to buy or sell in San Diego, I'm here to help them. Please refer them to me. I'm not going to pass them off to somebody else. I will take amazing care of them. And I'm going to give you an opportunity, Shannon.
Okay.
Where are you? What areas are you working specifically? Because I know that now you're niching.
Yeah.
Tell us, if
So
we have a client, what do we do?
contact me on Instagram is probably the best way. I check my DMs constantly there. So I'm at the Mansion team on Instagram, and we cover Austin, mostly on the west side of town, out in the suburbs area. So like Travis, Dripping Springs, we'll go up to Cedar Park, that kind of area. But like anything on the west side of Austin, out in the hill country near the lakes, it's absolutely beautiful. That is the area that we work. And if you have someone you don't know where they're moving in Austin, if we are not the right match, I absolutely have a great network of friends who are amazing agents here. And I can also partner, like tell you where to go. If I'm like, I don't cover this, but I know someone amazing over there and I can get you in good hands.
You know, actually, I have one other thing that I was going to ask you, and I completely forgot. So, okay, I recently moved over from EXP to Real.
Yes.
You've been with Real for a while already, right?
Yes.
So tell me, share with me, like I made a move for a specific reason, but like, what is it about Real that I mean, you like Real. I know you like working there, and so what is it about Real that attracted you and made you decide to go?
So I had been at I don't want to say the name of the brokerage because I have a lot of respect for my
Okay.
previous brokerage, but it was a very big box, like huge company. It's been around forever. And I started there just because that's where I kind of fell into when I got started. And my broker there was amazing, kind of took me under her wing, but I kind of reached a point in my career where I was now like doing really well on my own and generating my own leads. And at some point you kind of are not using the company tools and all these different things. And then I was still paying out a hefty franchise fee and like a split to our brokerage. And it got to the point where I was analyzing my overall cost, and that was the biggest expense. It was like outrageous the last time because I was like, hey, I'm doing really well. And then it's like, well, where did your money go? And it's like, oh my God, I put like that much into franchise fees and broker fees. So, but yeah, that was mostly it, was just being able to not pay so much. And then I just love the collaboration and the vibe of just the energy here, because it's a lot of people that are like-minded. I come from a background of teaching and being a teacher, and I love the fact that we're kind of I think energy attracts like energy. So I feel like it's a very collaborative place. And, you know, if you need help with anything, there's so many different agents you can reach out like, hey, I need help with this. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be social media.
Yep.
Like it's a very active group, and we all want to help each other succeed. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why I moved also, was because I used to be my own broker and I would run my own deals. And I thought I was the bomb, because I was like, you know, I have my own control. I can make my own decisions. You know, why would I ever want to join a brokerage like Real or something like that? And so what I realized was, I don't have to deal with all the liability, all the headache, all the compliance. Like, I can just work.
Yeah.
Right. And then what happens is my income goes up, and yeah, I'm giving a percentage to Real, but the reality of it is, I don't know if our viewers know, but Real's cap is really low. I mean, it's $12,000. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one of the reasons why I moved.
And what's crazy is that once you hit elite agent, which I was able to do in my first year, they comp you back $16,000 in stock, which was crazy.
What?
So it's like you pay $12,000 in your split, and then you pay fees. And once you hit like another 6,000, so like you give up 18,000, but you get back 16,000 in stock, which was, I mean, it was pretty awesome. But and like I said, I'm not going to say anything bad about the other company, because I'm grateful for the knowledge and the training of where I came from. But I like leveled up to a point where I'm like, I don't need all these tools. Like I was paying for all my own stuff, and I was just like, I'm paying all the company fees. So it's just, you know, it's been refreshing because of that. I now have the money to invest more with a videographer, because I'm saving so much. I'm like, I almost can hire an employee. So I have a lot more money now on my budget to do marketing and video and all that stuff. And I'm still keeping more overall. So that's pretty
And I think that's going to be the model going forward. Like, I truly believe this model is going to be how real estate is going to be done in the future.
Yeah.
Because you get an ecosystem that is just so amazing. like, you know, you and I, we work together, we teach each other, we help each other. You know, I'm going to see you at Rise. Hopefully you get to speak, and hopefully I get to speak as well. So it's just the thing is it's, yeah, I love being in this ecosystem, and I love the people I work with.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing everything with us.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Thanks so much for having me on here,
Yeah.
and great seeing you.
Yeah. And if you guys have clients in Austin, send them to Shannon. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye.
Peace out. Hang on. How do I turn this thing off?
I'm like,